everyone, my name is Amit Gupta, and in this video we are diving into how to build generative AI applications using Langchain and JavaScript. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, generative AI, isn't that something that belongs to the Python developers? Well, not anymore. It's not only possible to build generative AI applications using JavaScript, but it's also very easy and very accessible to do it with Langchain. And here's why it matters. Most modern applications, whether it is an e-commerce platform, a CRM system, or a banking app, most applications are starting to include some generative AI features. According to a Gartner report, 80% of enterprises will be using generative AI applications by 2026. And according to another Gartner report, 80% of the software engineers will need to upskill with generative AI skills by 2027. So this is not just a hype, this is the future of application development. As a JavaScript developer, it is a must to learn generative AI to stay ahead in your career and build web applications that stand out. So if you are ready to learn how to build generative AI applications using JavaScript, then you are in the right place. This is a getting started video, and I have a full course on Udemy for building generative AI applications using Langchain and JavaScript. I will put the link to the full course also in the description section. You can check out the full course if you want. And now let's get started with building generative AI applications with Langchain and JavaScript. Alright, we will start by setting up a Node.js project, and then we will create an API key for the Anthropic LLM. And finally, we will write code to interact with the LLM. So now let's start with the Node.js. For this tutorial, you need to have at least Node version 20.11.1 installed on your computer. So let's check the version installed. For that, I will type node -v in the terminal window. And here I can see I have version 20.11.1 installed. Now, if you don't have Node installed or you have an older version of Node installed on your machine, then please pause the video here, install the latest version of Node.js on your computer, and then continue. Now with Node installed, let's move on to the next step. Here we will clone an existing GitHub repository. I have already created a boilerplate base code for this project, which is actually the code for the full course that I have on Udemy. Now let's go to the GitHub repository, github.com/learnwithamit/genai-js. And we will clone this GitHub repository. And for that, let's go back to the terminal window. Here I will type git space clone, and then I will paste here the URL for the GitHub repository. Now, once the GitHub repository is cloned, so I will now navigate to the main folder, genai-js. And here I will open this folder in VS Code. You can use any code editor that you prefer. For this tutorial, I will stick to VS Code. Now with the project open in VS Code, let's check out the package.json file. This file contains all the dependencies that we need for this tutorial. For this particular tutorial, we will need Langchain, we will need Langchain Anthropic package, so that are already included here. So we can continue to install them. For that, I will go to the terminal in my VS Code editor, and here I will type npm install. That will install all the dependencies. Now it can take a few seconds for this process to complete. You can pause the video here and then continue when the installation is done. So now the installation is complete. We need to install an additional package globally. This is called TSX. This package will help us to run TypeScript code without having to compile it first. So it's quite handy when we are testing the code as we write it. So to install it, let's type npm install -g tsx. Now, once the TSX package is installed, we are ready to move forward. And here we will start by setting up an API key for the Anthropic LLM. For that, I will open a browser window and go to console.anthropic.com. So Anthropic is another LLM provider similar to OpenAI, and their LLMs have been really performing very well in the market. So for this tutorial, we will be using Anthropic Claude model. Now let's sign in to an Anthropic account. If you don't have an account, then please create a new Anthropic account. I already have an account, so I will continue to sign up with my Gmail ID. Now, once you are signed in, then go to the billing section, and here we want to have some credits in the account so that we can call the API. Again, if you don't want to spend money, then you can skip this step. You will not be just able to run the code in the end, but you can still follow along writing the code. You will still understand how to use Langchain. So once we have some credits, now I will go back to the dashboard, and here I will click Get API Key. From there, I will then start creating a new API key. For this key, I will select the default workspace, and I will enter here a name for this key so that I can remember it later. Now, once you click create, it should create a new key, and that should be visible to you. So make sure to copy this key in a secure file because you will not be able to see this key later on. So please copy and save this key in a secure file that you can access later. So now we have the key ready. So we will now move back to the code editor to start writing the code. Here we will start by creating a file called .env. And in this file, I will create a new environment variable with the name Anthropic underscore API underscore key. And I will paste the value of the key here. Perfect. So now you have the key configured and you can start writing the code to interact with the LLM. Now let's create a new file named basicchain.ts. A chain is basically a sequence of steps. So when you are interacting with the LLM, your application needs to do at least 3 steps. So first it needs to prepare a prompt. A prompt is like an input or the request that we will send to the LLM. Then the second step is to invoke the LLM by sending it the prompt. And then the finally third step is to parse the response back from the LLM. Now this is a basic chain with 3 steps, but in real life application, your chains might look a bit more complex. You might actually have multiple chains working together. So back to the code here, we will start by importing .env package and configure it to load the environment variable. So we have already stored our Anthropic API key in the environment variable. That's what we are trying to load here. And then we will import chat prompt template module from at langchain/core/prompts. This module will help us prepare our prompt, and we will use the method to create a new prompt. So for our prompt, we will ask a simple question to the LLM. Should a JavaScript developer learn generative AI and Langchain? And we will keep the answer to 50 words. With our prompt ready, let's now move on to the LLM interface. To do this, we will use Anthropic chat model. So let's start by importing the Anthropic module from Langchain and then create an instance of chat Anthropic class. So this sets up the LLM interface that we will be using to send the prompt and then generate a response back from the LLM. Now the model is ready, so we need to define how we will handle the response from the LLM. For this, we will use an output parser. So LLM can respond in many different formats. So for example, it can generate text, it can generate JSON, XML, it can even generate audio, video, images. So an output parser is basically taking the response back from the LLM and then make it available for our code to work with it. Now, in our case, we are expecting a text response, so we will use the string output parser module from Langchain. So let's import the string output parser module from at langchain/core/output parsers. And then we will create a new instance of this. And that's it. Now we have our output parser also ready to use. Now we have all the 3 components ready. We have the prompt template, we have the LLM interface, and also we have an output parser. So now comes the exciting part where we are going to chain all these three components together. Langchain provides us an easy way to combine these components together. So it provides a pipe method for each component that we can use to connect them to one another. So we will start by using the prompt, and then we will use the pipe method with this prompt, and then we will provide the LLM here to connect the prompt to the LLM, and then we will connect it further to the output parser. So this will basically create a pipeline where we will provide an input that will be parsed, formatted as a prompt. Then the output of that will be sent to the LLM. Then the output of LLM will be sent to the output parser. And in the end, we will have a response formatted as a string coming back from this chain. Once the chain is ready, then we can use the invoke method to execute this chain. Since we don't have any inputs for this particular prompt, in real life, you might have prompt that takes some input, some variables that you can pass here. But in our case, we are asking a simple question, so we don't need to pass any inputs. So we will continue with an empty object here. And then finally, let's print the response, the output of the output parser on the terminal. That's it. So now we have our code ready and we can start to test it. So for that, I will open a terminal window with my VS Code, and let's run this code using the tsx command. So tsx space src/basic chain.ts. If everything works well, then you should see the response from the LLM. The response that I got here says a JavaScript developer should learn generative AI and Langchain to stay current with emerging technologies. And it also mentions about the advantage in the job market. I couldn't agree more with the LLM. I really believe that this is the right time for the JavaScript developers to start learning generative AI. This is the future of technology. Now, if you want to learn how to build real-life use cases using Langchain and JavaScript, then please check out my full course on Udemy for building LLM-powered applications using Langchain and JavaScript. I will put a link in the description section. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content on this topic. And I hope this was really useful to you and look forward to see you in the next video. Thank you.